Hello friends, in this video I am going to discuss the proposal regarding one nation one election, or differently labeled as simultaneous elections in our country. The proposal is basically about conducting the simultaneous elections to state assemblies and the parliamentary elections, that is the general election as happened in 2014 2009. The problem or the best thing about democracy is periodic elections. It is best, or at times when it becomes a recurrent phenomena, it becomes troublesome, a kind of nuisance for the democracy itself. Why political activists and political thinkers are in favor of this proposal is that time and again model code of conduct is implemented in the country. Model code of conduct is implemented by the Election Commission of India, so as to make the elections a level playing field for both the parties, for all the parties, those which are in the opposition and which are in the power. So the advantage to the party in power in the government is that it can enact proposals which are favorable for the state going to the polls or for the country going to the polls. So roughly, with the declaration of the election schedule, the model code of conduct comes into force. When model code of conduct comes into force, the election commission has to vet or approve the every policy proposal or execution proposal of the government. Basically, it is related to the policy proposal. Anything that is declared before the model code of conduct comes into force is okay with the election commission. Election commission approves it. Election commission has no interference until and unless the model code of conduct comes into force. And this, you have to remember, model code of conduct comes into force only and only when the schedule of election is declared, notified by the Election Commission of India, that is a constitutional body. So what the advantages would be, it is saying in the election commission estimates that holding elections to the Lok Sabha and the assemblies, the state legislative assemblies, costs it around 4500 crores. Every time the cost is around 4500 crores if the elections to all the assemblies and to the Lok Sabha in 5 years is conducted. The expenses incurred are on the mobilization of security forces like central armed police forces. They are mobilized every time the elections are held in any state, as you have noticed generally. So this is saying it will control the expenditure, and first advantage, as I outlined earlier, is that elections will be model code of conduct will not come into force time and again. As and when the model code of conduct comes into force, it interferes with the democratic rule. Elected representatives are given complete 5 years. General government, the present government in the center, in the union government, it has to stop its policy proposals every time there is an election in any of the 29 states of India. Recently, as the election is happening in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and other states, it cannot come out with the policy proposals related to those states. So they could not include any policy proposal related to Punjab or UP in the budget as well. So this controversy arises time and again. That is why our honorable Prime Minister is also advocating for simultaneous polls. He said that this idea needs to be debated and discussed in detail. In this respect, coming to finer details, 79th report of Department Related Standing Committee, Parliamentary Committee, says it has justified. The committee has justified simultaneous conduct of polls on several grounds, including a huge cut in expenditure incurred for conduct of separate elections every year. The imposition of model code of conduct at regular intervals puts many activities of the government on hold and affects the governance. How the governance is affected? Suppose any work is to be done, so those works come to a standstill and the entire district collectorate or other machinery is focused on preparing electoral rolls, updating voter ID cards and all that things. Thirdly, concurrent polls. Concurrent polls means simultaneous polls to all the state legislative assemblies and and the parliamentary elections would free the central armed forces and manpower that is deployed at regular intervals for election duty. For example, the 2014 Lok Sabha elections, which were held along with state assembly elections in Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, were spread over 9 phases, and 1077 in situ companies and 1349 mobile companies of Central Armed Police Forces were deployed. Some report has said this. The concept of simultaneous polls is not new to the country. This is the argument of the 79th report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee. The first general election to the Lok Sabha and all state legislative assemblies were held together in 1951-52. The practice continued in the three subsequent general elections held in 1957, 1962 and 1967, but the premature dissolution of some state assemblies in 1968 and 1969, this cycle was disrupted. So when the state assemblies got dissolved, the election had to be held without any proper schedule, which was commensurate with elections to other assemblies and the parliamentary election. In 1970, the Lok Sabha itself was dissolved early. And fresh elections were held in 1971. As a result, for the last 48 years, there have been separate polls for electing the central and the state governments. Basic outlines these are the positive things. Here's an Hindu editorial on the same topic. It says, as the heading of the editorial itself says, that it will result in nudging the voter in the same direction, one direction. Like if there's a wave, as we say, there's a wave for one particular party, party X or party Y or party Z. So that party will hold sway over all the assemblies as well as over the elections to the Lok Sabha. It will have victory in all the seats. Okay, and at the state level as well as at the Lok Sabha election level. So it says in a way it is dangerous for democracy.